Hello and welcome to 17th Legal Root Lift webinar in collaboration with All Assam Law Student Association, Dibrugarh District. I'm Priyanka Burman, your host for today's session. And I'm pleased to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker for today, Honorable Mrs. Monika Sharma, Advocate Supreme Court of India. Before proceeding further, I would like to give a brief introduction of our keynote speaker. Mrs. Monika Sharma, a legal consultant, educationist, and social worker, has done B.Ed, MBA, LLB, and postgraduate in corporate laws and management. Before joining legal fraternity, she was associated with corporate clients like Unichem and Z Television. She was legal consultant to National Human Rights Commission and HT Media Limited. Apart from it, she has been trying to counsel and facilitate in education, especially children and women, in legal rights. She is one of the founder members of Shaket Bar Association and distinguished member of International Council of Jurists from 2018 to 2022. A very warm good evening, ma'am.
Hello.
So, as I established today's topic of discussion, that is adoption laws, which is the need of the hour considering the present scenario, I would like to request the participants and viewers to put out the queries if they have any in the comment section below. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So we are dealing with a very sensitive topic today, which is child adoption. As you know, the child adoption had not been taken up very seriously in the previous years, but it has become a need of our to look into this sensitive matter with the great emphasis. The reason being, in the pandemic, we have seen that there had been so many children who are homeless, who are without parents, who are either with a single parent or without any parent. Child had always been ignored for some reason or other, but I feel should not have been done so for the reason because if any country who has a good child health, mental health, I'm sure their future is going to be very beautiful. Losing parents or losing mentor is not in the hand of a child, but unfortunately they have to face, and there is no way out to deal with this trauma. So, and this pandemic has actually made us focus on this area so that we can take care of our children who are undergoing the trauma right now. Of course, our topic is adoption, but we are putting a light on this pandemic issue for the reason because this is the situation where this grave need has come up for the child adoption. I have a data with me which says till June, from March 20 to May, there were 1,742 children who were orphaned. There were 7,464 children who had only one parent, and there were about 140 children who were abandoned. 6,612 are with single parent, 985 with family members, and 1,221 are with the guardian. This is the last year data, and today what we have is around 9,346 children who have lost either both of their parents or are with their single parents. This was the details which were given by National Commission for Protection of Child Rights to the Supreme Court. They say that we have 4,860 children who are boys and 4,486 children who are girls. Of course, there are many efforts which are being taken up by our government and by our state government to eradicate the trauma and to bring normalcy to the children of these life. They have started up with the Bal Swaraj Yojana and COVID Care Yojana. They are providing them monthly financial support also. But I don't think all these will suffice the need of a child who is without any parents, without any mentor, because they're minor. They do not know how to face the world. For that, they need somebody who is actually elder to them, who is actually a caretaker to them, who can guide them in the thick and the thin of the situations. So I think this is very important that these children should be adopted. Not only these children, but I feel all those children from the ages who had without any parents or without any mentor or without any guardian should be taken into consideration and should be given a family and prosper. Because if a child is healthy, our nation is going to be absolutely healthy. So for this reason, I feel this child adoption is a very, very important topic which should be kept in the consideration, which everybody should know, for the reason so that if they want to do something for the society, they should know how to go about it. And they shouldn't be hesitant of going ahead with this process, because their social work will definitely will give a fruits which will be beneficial on the whole for the coming future. So basically, I would like to tell you what is a child adoption. What do you think is a child adoption? See, child adoption is nothing. Child adoption is basically a parentless couple, a couple who is not having any child and a child who is not having any parent, to develop a relationship between them, to provide them with a security, a home, and a name and a good life. A child orphan who is without any support needs home, financial support, needs emotional support, needs lot of love and affection, and to be guided. In a similar way, those couple who are without the child, their life is not fulfilling, their life is empty without, because something is missing from their life. So this is the adoption is a process where they are complementary to each other and they support each other. As a result, they have a good life, and as a result, they have a healthy mindset. So this is the basic purpose of adoption, and basically the adoption is only the motive is only this, that both the parties are balanced and they complement each other. So now, uh, this is the basic process which we take up. But there are certain laws, certain procedures which are to be followed to go in for child adoption. In India, we have certain laws which are governing the child adoption. That is the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956, which we in a short form sometimes called HAMA. Guardian and Wards Act 1819, Juvenile Justice Act of 2000. It's an act which actually allows non-Hindu community also to go in for adoption. And adoption is by foreign adoption by adoption of those children who had been surrendered by couple or by people for some reason or other. So these are the laws as well as the procedures which we follow when we adopt different category of children for the continuation of smooth life. Now, apart from this, there are certain agencies which facilitate the adoption process, because there has to be some restrictions as well as certain exceptions, certain limitations, so that our children are not put to they are not put to risk. They get safe and secure environment. And for that reason, our government has authorized certain agencies which make sure that children are in a safe environment, are in a healthy environment. I would like to mention few of the agencies so that it become convenient for you to understand when I use the short form. For example, we have SSA, Specialized Adoption Agency. When we have RIPA, LIPA, Licensed Adoption Agency, RIPA, Recognized Adoption Agency, AFA, Authorized Foreign Adoption Agencies, and all these agencies are governed by Child Welfare Committee, and there are many more which are basic agencies which are recognized by the central government. CARA is a central adoptive resource agencies which play a very important role in taking care of children's safeguard and adoption process. these certain agencies take care of the adoption within the country, and few agencies take care of the adoption when it is an inter-country adoption. Now, there are few fundamental principles which we have to take care when we are giving any child for an adoption, or any parent who is taking a child for an adoption. These are the fundamental principles which are to be taken care by these agencies are that child best interest is to be safeguarded. We have to make sure that the child is not going into the hands of somebody who is not taking care of the interest of the child, and this interest include both mental, physical, financial, and emotional. These interest includes both mental, physical, and emotional, and emotional support. Then these companies make sure that the preferences are given to the citizen of India itself, for the reason because child feel at home. If it's given to somebody outside India, then there are chances that the child may not feel at home and may feel discomfort later on. Then there is a set procedure and a time bound procedure which is to be followed during a child adoption. The time bound procedure is a very important thing, for the reason that neither the child should go through the trauma, and nor the parent who is opting for the child adoption should go through the trouble which they may face, because both the parties are already suffering through one or the another trauma, which may not be exposed, but internally, of course, they are having that trauma. So these are the few financial things which we have to take, the companies take care when the adoption process goes forward. Apart from this, there are certain procedures, there are certain limitations which are also looked into, so that the child adoption is done with full security. For example, if a married couple is opting for a child adoption, then they should be married for 2 years. Their family atmosphere which should be such that a child doesn't feel isolated or alone. The third issue is then there should be good financial resources. Then unmarried men who are, of course, our law has allowed that we can unmarried female, unmarried male can opt for a child adoption, but then there are certain restrictions to it also. So the important thing nowadays, as you see, that live-in relationship is very common. Okay, that's fine with the society, but in that case, a child cannot be adopted. And then they have certain composite age also, which they have the law has set up for the parents for the couple to be followed when they go in for the adoption. For example, if our child is from the age of 0 to 3 years, then the composite age should be 90 years. Composite age means the age of both the male and the female partner. And individual should be minimum 20 and the maximum of 50 years. Same is the case when the child is of 3 years and above, then the composite age should be of 105 years, and the minimum age should be of 25 and the 55. Of course, there are certain made from time to time, for the reason because the scenario of the world keep changing, the thought process, the law, and many more other factors which are responsible for this. Now, the good financial position is very important, for the reason because if you're taking up the burden of somebody, then you have to abide by it, so that it doesn't become a trauma for a child. Then we have restriction for a second adoption also. Suppose if a child wanted to have a second adoption, then please make sure that first is legally stated and things are as per the law. Now, these were the certain eligibility criteria. I'm not talking about the acts individually right now. I mean talking in general about the eligibility criteria which are to be followed when we are going in for a child adoption process. Now, there is a certain procedure. This is again a general procedure which I'm going to tell you. Then we will differentiate as per different acts. What are the procedures? What are the differences between different acts which we have to take care while we go in for a child adoption? Now, there are certain procedures which only go through GAWA. GAWA is a body which give which sets certain guidelines which all the adoptive agencies, yeah, all the authorized agencies have to follow, so that there is a smooth functioning of the process. Now, in case of a foreign national, there are certain agencies which are earmarked so that they approach those agencies and they go in for an adoption process. It's in a case of intercountry adoption. But if in case there are no agencies over there, then the foreign national can approach or high commission if there is no authorized foreign adoption agency, which we call in short form, we call as AFA or something like that. So these are the process, these are the suitability which has been also created for the foreign nationals. Again, there are certain restrictions which are again imposed on certain guidelines or the procedures which are being taken in case of foreign national. There is a set process they prefer to go through that seriatim in case when they are giving a child to some foreign national. That is, the first preference is given to the NRIs, and the second is given to overseas citizen of India. The third preference is given to person of Indian origin, and the fourth one is foreign nationals. So the last one are the foreign nationals before giving an Indian child adoption to any of the foreign nationals. So this is the seriatim which Kara tries to follow when they are giving a child adoption to a foreign national, and they try to make sure that the adoption is in the ratio of 80:20. For the reason preference is given to the Indian national, then to the foreign national. So it's a ratio which they have actually earmarked. It is 80:20. Now, the special need children, if there are special need children who are unfortunately suffering from certain diseases or certain disabilities, and they are not able to manage their own, then the special need children are given the priority. They are put in the priority list for the reason because they are suffering from all sides, physically as well as emotionally. Now, procedure for national as well as international adoption, this is general procedure I'm talking. We have an adoption process for which we go in for registration. The first process, the first and the first initial step is the process which we follow. Then we have a pre-adoption counseling. Pre-adoption counseling is for those parents because sometimes parents feel emotionally weak, or in the fit of a second they feel that yes, they should go in for an adoption, but later on that they are not fit to bear the responsibility of a child who is coming from outside, who is not their blood relation. So a pre-counseling is very, very important for the pre-adoption. It's a pre-adoption counseling which is very, very important. Then we have a home study process which is being done by the agencies. It's very important and plays a very important role in adoption process. Why the home study is being done by the agencies? For the reason it is deputed in our schedule 4. The study environment is necessary for the reason because where the child is going, it should be nobody says it should be rich, but then it should be comfortable, conducive for the child for overall growth. Then, and apart from it, when we do the home study environment, then there is a medical history of those parents also who are adopting a child, and that medical history is valid for 1 year, and the home study report of the prospective adoptive parents is valid for 2 years, because circumstances changes and the environment of home also changes. But then that's a different thing altogether. Then the child who is to be adopted is to be seen medically. It is to be seen medically. Then report is forwarded to the uh, uh, to the to the Kara, and then if parents are if parents are okay with the adoption, with the child, with the overall medical history, child birth or everything, then they can go in for a referral. then a legal procedure is followed, and in that legal procedure the court is approached in certain act, and in certain act a deed is signed between the parents and the agency. So then after that, when the legally it has been done, a follow process is followed by the agencies for almost on a 6 monthly basis, or say at least for 2 years, so that they can make sure that child is in a safe hands, and whatever they had thought about the child is being given to a child and he is being taken care of. So then all these procedures, all this process which are being conducted to uh, these are the general process which I have told you are to be conducted to make sure that the process is smooth and the child as well as the parent are happy with each other. Now we'll come to the act which we follow in this child adoption process. The first act followed in India is Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956. See, since the majority is a Hindu population, so this act is followed by all those who belong to this religion, and it is not only that one has to be um, uh, one has to be Hindu by religion, but otherwise or some means they cannot means they have to follow the rituals which are being adopted in a Hindu family. Any person who belongs to Arya Samaj, Pratna Sabha, or Jain, Sikh, Brahmo Samaj, or any person who has converted or reconverted into Hinduism can go in for the adoption under this act. There is a certain exception, a scheduled tribe who are under the clause 25 of article 366 of Constitution of India. The provisions are not applicable, they are exempted, and a person who is not Hindu by religion but provisions of this act apply on him can also go in for adoption under this act. Both the adoption could be both of legitimate as well as illegitimate child, means it's not that a child has to be a legitimate child only. Then the rules which have been followed in particular Hindu community and have gained the enforcement of the law are also accepted under this act. Rules should be of the rules which are being adopted in this act should not oppose the public policy, and the adoption in this under this act specifically is governed by chapter 2. Anything which is in contradiction to the chapter 2 of this act will be held as a null and void. So these are the eligibility criteria which I have told you for the people who want to go in for an adoption, and under this act. Now we have to see who can go in for the adoption. A person who is having the capacity, is having the right. Having the right means he is under the eligibility criteria, and the documents which are required for him or her to be produced for the adoption are with him. Then can go in for the process of child adoption under this act. Then there has to be compliance of the provisions. The person who is to be adopted, means child who is to be adopted, should also be capable of being adopted. There are certain restrictions. If a child is suffering from certain disease, then there are certain restrictions. But if a child is capable, the person who is to be adopted should also be capable to be adopted by the main crux of this Hindu marriage, Adoption and Maintenance Act is that there has to be a give and take ceremony. Actual giving and taking ceremony should be conducted for the reason of adoption under this act. Adoption After this giving and taking ceremony has been done, then the adoption displaces the natural lineage which is being followed, and the child who is coming from the outside is being taken into that lineage as if he is born as a natural son or a son to that family. Now, who are the person who can take up adoption? The persons, they should be of sound mind. They should ask, they should not be suffering from some medical problems which could be fatal in a near future. For that, the medical report is also taken up by the agencies. And if they are having wife, then the consent, suppose a male is adopting a child, then he should have the consent from his wife. And if in case he is divorced, then there should be a valid divorce decree in his favor before going in for an adoption. These is the general, these are the eligibility criteria which has to be followed. Suppose if a female is adopting a child under the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, HAMA, then the wife should, if she is married, then she should have a consent from her husband before going in for adoption. If she is unmarried, then also her age should be such that she can go in for an adoption. And if she is living separately, or she is divorcee, then the divorce decree should be in her favor to go in for adoption. But if in case there is a judicial separation, that in that case the child cannot be adopted by a single parent, because it's not they are not having a divorce decree. So there has to be a legal valid divorce decree if the couple is living separately. That is an important point which one has to consider when they go in for uh, when the male or a female go in for a child adoption. Now, who could be adopted? A child who could, which child could be adopted? A child who has not attained the age of 15 years, a child who is Hindu by birth, a child who has not been adopted consequently can be adopted under this under this act. There are six different. There are certain other conditions which are very important when we are going for Hindu Hama, that where there has to be a difference of 21 years of age between the suppose a male is adopting a son, then to be age of difference of 21 years, and similarly with the female, in certain cases the age difference of 21 years is required. Actual give and take ceremony should happen. And if in case a mother, suppose there is a judicial separation decree has been given, sorry, there is a proper divorce decree and the child has been adopted after that, but later on mother marry, then our adoption doesn't become nullified, it doesn't become invalid. It has to be, it is a valid adoption, it will continue so as per the rights and the rituals, whatever is followed in the family, and what are the rights a natural child has, those rights are with that adopted child. Now, there is a procedure which we follow when we go in for Hama. A parent or a couple or a single parent or who wants a child go to agency and given an application. The agency registered it and they take the interview of the couple or a single parent before starting up the further process. And for that, the interview is necessary to assess the intention, to understand the background of the family, the motive, what is the need they want to adopt, what is the financial capacity, how is the health of the couple or the single parent. These are the certain things which agency, while interviewing them, try to assess and find out. Then they have to verify the application along with the documents. The documents which are required, I'll tell you later on. The agency will find out with the placement agency the suitable child that meets the requirement of the couple who have made an application to adopt a child under Hama. Though after the placement agency has given feedback about the child. Then a home study report is also prepared, and then doctor is selected the adopted parents to examine the child medically. So that this is required for the reason, so that couple who is adopting, the single parent who is adopting, should be mentally also satisfied that they are bringing a happy, healthy child, means whatever their criteria is. But so that later on they may not complain ki this was not looked into or whatever, so they can have a doctor of their own choice to bring in a child whom they want to adopt and get him examined by their own doctor. So after the decision has been made by the couple or a single parent, then the petition is filed with the competent court of to take up the adoption process and register a deed of adoption. And post-adoptive follow-up is also be done. Now, once the adoption process has been followed, then there cannot be a cancellation of the adoption process until and unless court thinks so that there has been some fraud which had been played upon, or there have been some information which were, or some information which had been hidden, and court feels that this information was very, very important to make a valid legal adoption. Otherwise, once the adoption has been legalized by the court or has been registered, then we cannot cancel it. Now, what were the documents? What are the documents which are required when we are going for an adoption under the HAM? So, first is the passport, residence proof, the marriage certificate with of if they are married, the death certificate if there is a single parent, if in case one of the parent is not there, copy of divorce decree, of birth certificate, undertaking to permit follow up the post adoption process, and copy of medical certificate of the adopting parent, couple, or a single parent. So these are the certain procedures which we basically, these are the basic features which we take into consideration when we are going for an adoption under HAMA. And one more thing, if some fraud has been played, there is a penalty to this. It's a imprisonment up to 6 months, or a fine which could be imposed if some information has been hidden, or some court feels so that there was misinformation or hidden documents, then penalty could also. For the most important thing in the whole process of adoption, that there should not be any financial interest, which which a couple should have, or the agency who's doing it should have during this adoption process. Because there were several matters where child has been adopted for the purpose because he was blessed with huge property, he was having lot of assets with him before adoption. So all these things have to be taken care by the agencies, so that child does not go in a wrong hand, because the property which has been given to the child before his adoption will be vested with him or her only, even after the adoption, apart from the property which he would inherit after he has been legally adopted by the couple, as per the natural as if he's a natural son of a couple. So these are the certain things which we take when we These are the certain things which we take care when we are adopting a child under the HAMA. Now, the next process of adoption is under Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Rules 2000. See, this is very important for the reason because this is very important for the reason because There are certain children who are abandoned, or who had been who are orphaned, or who are not been taken care by their biological parents, and they have nowhere to go. So for that, the juvenile justice care and protection of children under rules 2000 have been followed. And apart from it, our the Muslims and the other people of other religions can also adopt under this act, uh, because otherwise there is their personal law doesn't allow them to go in for a proper adoption, as in Hama. There was I'll come to that on that. So in this, the children who were abandoned, or who were orphaned, or who were surrendered by by the people, come under they are taken into care by under this act. In this, the specialized children are free for adoption after the committee has CWC committee has declared them to be fit to be adopted by the people. Suppose a child has been found by police, or a child who has been abandoned has been recovered by a police, then within 24 hours of its recovery, the child is presented before CWC committee for the further process, for for understanding for giving the care, medical need, and assistance to that child. So it has to a child who has been abandoned or who has been recovered is to be presented with before a committee, CWC committee. Now after the committee feels that child is fit for adoption, then they are so, and there is a form 14 which is to be filled before the child is being taken into adoption. Sorry, there was an error in camera, right? So the committee conduct an inquiry. Hello. Okay, sorry. Huh. The committee conduct an inquiry, and then probationary officer prepare, and then after following the procedure, child is declared to be adopted. And but there are certain restrictions which are taken care under this act. If a child is below 2 years of age, then the child who has been declared fit to be adopted, before that, the CWC committee publish it in a national newspaper, regional newspaper, or sometimes they also declare that they take the help of social media like radio for any claimant, or anybody who would claim for a child could come within this period and can claim for a child. If a child is above, then this process is for 60 days, and if a child is above 2 years, then then a duration of 4 months is taken. Then a duration of 4 months is taken, so that any claimant who can claim for a child come forth. But if in case a child who has attained age of 7 years, they cannot the child cannot be given to adoption without, if he can understand, without the consent, without the consent of the child itself, because he or she can understand, and he cannot be declared free for adoption without his or her consent. These these are certain restrictions which are being imposed in the child, which are being imposed on the imposed for the child to be adopted. Now there are surrendered child which come under this category. Surrendered child are who are the surrendered child? Surrendered child are those child who are out of wedlock, or the or unwedded mother, or consequences of non-consequential relationship which cannot be declared in the society, or one of the parent is dead and the other parent is not able or capable of taking care of that child, then a child whose parents are compelled to relinquish the child due to physical or some other factors. So the children who are being given up under these circumstances, or there are certain inevitable circumstances which couple cannot tell, or which couple cannot share, then and they want to surrender their child, then the children will come under this category. And for that reason, when there are inevitable circumstances, then they have to there is a form 15 which is done on a non-judicial paper, stamp paper, and to be presented before the committee before surrendering a child. And then committee at the same time give 2 months of time, 2 months of time rethink about their decision, because sometimes some decisions are taken under the grip of emotional trauma. So 2 months of time is given by the committee to think about their decision before surrendering a child for the adoption. After this, after a period of 60 days have passed, then the child could be declared to be fit for adoption by the outside world, or the foreign national, or Indian national. So these are the certain things which this act basically has the hold important for the reason, because there were the cases when Muslims were not able to adopt the they were only the guardian. They were only the guardian of a child, and rather adopted. There was a case of Shabnam Hashmi versus Union of India in 2014, in which the Supreme Court has laid a guideline that the right to adopt a child by a person as per the JJ Act would prevail over all the personal laws and religious code in the country. This was a judgment which was given by the three judges bench of Justice P. Sathasivam, Justice Ranjan Gogoi, and Justice Shiv Kirti. However, the court continued to prevail for the reason because in India we do not have a uniform civil code as such. But of course, efforts are being there to achieve the uniform civil code for it. But until then, this JJ Act has proved to be a boon for Muslim community, or the community who cannot adopt, who were only declared as a guardian, or were not having the complete custody. Because in the third act, which we are going to discussed now, the Guardian and the Wards Act. Here, the guardian, the term here, the guardian is basically the person who can take care of a child until the child attains the age of 21. If the child is of 21 years of age, then the guardianship ends and the child is free to walk away. So So here, like in Hama, in Hindu and like Hindu Adoption Act, we the child is not into the custody for lifelong, and he is not having the rights to inherit the property or use the name of the guardian, legal guardian, of course, legal guardian as per the as in Hama, because there the after the adoption, a child become a natural son or a biological is equivalent to the biological son who has all the rights and the liberties as of natural son. So for that reason, the this act lays some restrictions on certain communities, but it is for the community like Parsis, Muslims, Christians who do not follow the adoption process as per their personal laws. So for them, I feel that the Supreme Court has laid down good guideline in the Shabnam Hashmi case, which could be used for the adoption process. Now, uh, after this, what we have to see that the act was allow only guardianship but not complete adoption, and the child here is termed as a ward. So that is the difference between the Hama and the GAWA, which we can understand as a natural guardian, as a natural child, and as a adopted child. Now there are certain provisions which are to be followed. That is taken care in the GAWA, that all the children who are capable of being adopted, whether they are of any caste, creed, race, they are covered under this the Guardian and the Ward Act 1890, and no equivalent status of adoptive child is given to them. Only guardian ward relationship is established under this act, and this guardian ward relationship finishes off once the child achieve age of 21. Apart from it, if a will has been made by the guardian of the parent, or it has been declared, it has been through legal routes that a certain person who is fit to be the guardian of a particular child, particular ward, the through court is taken into consideration, because the main objective of this act is to take care of the paramount the interest of the child, its well-being, its the overall well-being of a child is a paramount importance in this under this act. So there but with certain limitations. Now, how we go under this act to go in for a child? We place a filled application with details like reason why we want to become a guardian, what are the relevant reason, and then after the date of hearing has been set, and the best interest of the child has been taken care of, then the guardianship will be granted by the court, so that that child does not suffer. And it's not that all the guardians are there are many people who are very who for them the interest of a child, the well-being of a child is of utmost importance. So court look into all these factors before granting a child into a guardianship. So these are the certain things which we take care under this act. Now, when we come to the inter-country adoption, then we have to be very, very careful for the reason, because inter-country adoption is something which because there the child is going away from your own country and is in a new environment, and unfortunately there is no as such set act for this inter-country adoption. It is governed by the guidelines of adoption of children 2015. Uh, but in LK Pandey versus Union of India, the Supreme Court has laid down certain guidelines which are to be followed when we go in for an inter-country adoption. And there are there are certain restrictions we have to take care, which are taken care by the agencies when they go in for an inter-country adoption. A child must not have completed 3 years of age, and the guidelines in under the GAWA are followed because there is no particular or concrete act which guide us through inter-country adoption. Then there are foreign national. See, there are certain agencies which have been earmarked only for the which are earmarked only after the which are earmarked only country adoption, which I told you earlier. There is a Seretum also which is being followed for the inter-country adoption. That NRI, then the overseas citizen of India, then person of Indian origin, and then foreign nationals. So there are certain procedures which are specifically taken care when we are going in for a inter-country adoption. In this, when the foreign national approach agency for the adoption, first of all, there are certain documents which are being taken into consideration for going. Of course, documents are taken into consideration in every act for the well-being, but here they are more specified for the reason so that so that full accuracy is being adopted, that there is no problem when a child is out of country or is is being adopted by the foreign national. The documents which are required are passport, residence proof, marriage. If in case the couple is married, then it's required with a photograph, divorce decree, and birth certificate. Divorce decree if in case they are separated, judicially separated. Then after when a foreign national approach agency, then a home report or whatever are essential requirements are being done by the agencies to make sure that they are giving child in a safe hand. Then the profile of two children are being shown to them so that they may select, they may hold back one of the child, and the child is being held back for 96 hours by the agencies. The child then the medical report of the child is signed within the 30 days of the when after the preference has been given by the foreign national. Then the child can they can visit the child if Kara approves that. If Kara has given an approval and acceptance, yes, they are fit and they can go in for adoption process further. Then they can visit a child. After the approval of Kara, within 10 days, the child will be taken into the foster care. Foster care is very, very essential for a child as well as for the couple, so that they have a relationship among themselves before going permanently into each other's hand. The application is to be filed after that foster care period is over. Then the application is to be filed within 7 days of the Kara approval and acceptance to the court of competent jurisdiction for the final approval and for declaring a child to be adopted. And all this process has to be finished up by the court within 2 months of the said application. After the court has declared the child could be adopted, the Kara give a birth certificate as well as a legal parent name to the child, so that they could the further their process of continuing with the life process could continue. And the important part is that there is a post-adoptive requirements which are to be fulfilled when we are giving a child to a foreign national, or to a national of foreign origin, or to somebody who is not from Indian origin. And there are certain securities which are to be security bonds which are to be given by the foreign national in order to ensure that a child has a safe, secure future. That security could be in the form of a bond, it could be in the form of LIC, or it could be in the form of certain FDRs, whatever they feel convenient, so that the child has having a secure future. So
Thank you,
these are
ma'am,
the
for
certain.
giving. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, no, ma'am, I
Yes,
would
please
like
tell.
to take some questions from the audience also. Will that be fine, ma'am?
Yes, please
Ma'am,
please.
if they have any queries to ask you, it will be more clear. The picture will be more clear. So here is one. Can a married woman adopt a child without her husband? I-
Yeah, married woman without, no, one has to take care, one has to take the consent of the husband before adopting a child. If a marriage is valid and it has not been, the divorce has not taken up and legally, and there is no divorce decree, then you cannot adopt. But if you are married and with the you have a consent of a husband, then of course you can go in for adoption.
Okay.
Consent is required if there is no divorce decree, even if in case of judicial separation.
Any more questions? Can a married woman adopt a child? If yes, in whose name shall be the adoption deed executed?
See, again, then the question comes: if a married woman adopt a child, first thing, if she is a widow, married woman is a widow, then of course the onus is, the deed is to be in her name only. But if she is married, then the consent of her husband is required. If she is separated judicially, then the divorce decree is required. Then it could be, see, in all these cases of suppose a woman who is going in for adoption, a deed could be executed in her name, that is not an issue. But the criteria which are essential for the deed to be executed are to be taken care and are to be fulfilled before a deed could be done, because we cannot hide this, we cannot hide the things and go in for an adoption. These are the things which are being taken care by the agencies very minutely, because you cannot trust somebody who like this, they may appear very good in front of you, but at the back they may not be the way they are showing. So these are the criteria which are to be essentially fulfilled by the either of the married man or the married woman, or a single mother, or single female, or a single male. The criteria which has been set has to be done. Of course, adoption deed is not an issue. It could be executed in the name of a married woman.
Okay, ma'am. Can an unmarried woman adopt a child? If yes, under which act?
Yes, unmarried woman can adopt a child. There is not an issue. There was a case, if I remember, where there was an age limit which was earlier being set to be the 45 years of age, and now it is being reduced to 30 years, I suppose. Where the lady was about to complete her age limit, and the Kara was taking up the time to complete the essential requirements. So she had a conversation with somebody under Hindu Marriage Act, sorry, under HAMA, to adopt a child, and they agreed, and she adopted a child under HAMA also. Means under Hindu, she adopted a Hindu child. So it's not that unmarried woman cannot adopt. Unmarried woman can very well adopt. There are many examples. You see, Sushmita Sen has adopted, and recently this Mandira Bedi has adopted. I think 2 children she has adopted. One girl, one boy. I think, yes. So it's not. Mandira Bedi is of course married, but Sushmita Sen was unmarried when she adopted a child. Of course, one can adopt. Unmarried woman can adopt a child.
Yeah. So under the Act of Hama,
Gamma
if
also,
they
and we can go in for this under the Gamma also. But
okay.
if it is to be under, it has to be proper adoption, then of course under Gamma.
Full form of CWC committee is Child Welfare Committee. Uh,
This
this is this
full
is
form
not
is this only. Yeah? This is
yeah.
not a
Full form is
question.
this.
This is not a
Yeah,
question.
this is
This
not.
is not a question.
Are the testamentary guardian also guided under GAWA?
Yes, they are. They are.
Any more questions from the without adoption registration? Can adoption adoption is valid
No, there
without.
has to be legal. No, it has to be registered. It has to be legal through a legal process through court, and Hama has a different guideline. GAWA has a different guideline. It has to be through legal process only,
Okay.
because this will raise question further, whether the child. Because this will invalidate, even if the date of adoption is not there in the registration deed, then also it may lead to invalidation. So the day when the adoption has been done, that date is also very essential, and it has to be in a time bound manner.
True. Is there any difference of inheritance also under both this act, or the right of adoptive child remains the same under both acts?
See, when a child is adopted under Hama, then he has all the inheritance. He's a co-partner. He has all the right as if of a natural son. Whatever his father inherited from his grandparents, he is bound to, and the equal division of the property will take place in Hama. So he has all the inheritance right under Hama. And when you go in for the GAMA and other acts, see, there I have told you, because there it's a guardianship relationship. It's not a relationship of adoption. When a child is not, and a child can walk off after 20 winning, because he's an individual, he can take up his own decision. Of course, guardian can give at his own will and fancy. If a guardian wants to give his property or whatever, or whatever he has inherited from, he can give up. But those things could be challenged. But in case of Hama, they cannot be challenged if it has been done properly and legally. He has all the rights like that of a natural son or a daughter.
Anymore. Ma'am, if scheduled tribe are exempted under Hama, how can one take in adoption?
See, then there are different sects, and which are to be followed. There are certain guidelines for the scheduled tribe, which we look into under section 30, and which we look into for going in for adoption, because scheduled tribes are not the tribe who have been um, demarcated as Hindu, Muslim, or something like that. It's altogether a different process which they adopt for the which is being taken care for the adoption.
Next question. Can you again tell the Sabana al-Hasmi case, ma'am?
No, it's a Shabnam Hashmi case. It was taken up in 2014. It was Shabnam Hashmi versus Union of India 2014 for SSC 1, where three judges bench, Justice P. Satasivam, Justice Shiv Kirti, and Justice Ranjan Gogoi. They have said that the right to adopt a child by a person as per the JJ Act would prevail over all the personal laws and religion code in the country. However, the personal law would continue to govern the particular sect, because Christian, Muslims, they are governed by the personal laws, because we don't have a uniform civil code in India right now. Of course, we are working. They are working to achieve it. But yes, this is the case which has taken care of this problem.
Okay. Can Indian people adopt other countries' child?
Of course, they can adopt, but then they again have to follow the. There is a convention signed. There is a Hague Convention, which gives us, which has set up certain lines of action to be followed when inter-country adoption takes place. There is a Hague Convention which has been signed, but there are certain countries where the Hague Convention is not taken into consideration. Yeah, they haven't signed for it, but then they have their own procedure and procedure to follow. Of course, Indian people can can adopt the national country, a child from other country.
Okay. Any more questions? Can an unmarried woman adopt a child in India?
Yes, of course,
Okay.
very well can adopt. Can adopt.
Any more questions from the participants? If an adopted child wants to know about his birth mother or father, how can he or she know?
See, if they have information, it's not that you have to hide the information from a child. It's not compulsory that you need to hide the information from a child, because many a times through some relative or through somebody, a child come to know that he or she has been adopted, right? But there are cases where a child is not surrendered. Suppose a child is surrendered, then then we make them fill certain forms, as I have told you earlier, that we make them fill form 15, form 13, like that, where all the information is being given to the agency. Of course, agency doesn't disclose the information to anybody, for the reason, for the safety of the child and for the safety of the parent itself. But they have all the information if it is available, because whenever a child who has been abandoned or who has been left over, who has been recovered by the police and is produced before the CWC committee, then also they try to take a small history of that child, the medical ground of that child, the social background of that child, if they could trace it out. They try to have it and keep it as a report under for the future references. So it is available, but then it again depends on the circumstances and on the condition and on the situations, whether a child should know about the birth mother or a father, or it has to be concealed. But the agencies have all the records before handing over a child, if it is available. If it is available, then it depends, in future it depends whether a child wants to know, or if he wants to know, he can go after an person who's individual after attaining the age of 21 years, can definitely go.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, is there any monetary consideration between the agency and adopting parent while taking in adoption?
See, there are certain yes, monetary consideration is there when a child is in a foster care, or when a child is in certain parents are being provided with the monetary compensation to take care of the child. But now the situation has been changed. Now the social welfare department has raised the bar up to 3 lakh rupees annual income of a parent who wanted to adopt a child. The Kara has said that adopting parent should have approximately 3,000 rupees per month of a income if they want to go in for it. This is after when they have taken due care of the whole family, their daily needs, or whosoever is dependent on them. So, but yes, there is a monetary consideration, but that depend upon circumstances and depend on the situations. Because if it's not that a poor person cannot adopt a child, where will he go if he wants to have a child? He or she will go. You cannot bar a person from. There are special circumstances.
Any more questions from the participants? We'll wait for a minute or two, ma'am, just to see if there are any queries or questions regarding this.
But I think people should come forward and adopt. Come forward and adopt the children, for the reason, because if people will take part in the adoption process, I'm sure many children will be happy and many parents will be happy. And of course, when society is healthy and of sound mind and satisfied, definitely it leads to a better future. So of course, adoption laws are being eased also comparatively, so that child gets a good place and a couple get a good child. um, and the effort of the people should also be there, so that they come forward and take a child.
True, very true, ma'am. There was a question, can a homosexual couple adopt a child?
As such, nothing has come on record till date, but definitely, because it has been validated, and no guidelines has been set till now for this reason. Of course, let's see. Nature. Yeah. But yes, it has to be taken into consideration because many see, the child welfare is a paramount interest. That is
Yes, ma'am.
important. है ना? And still there is a taboo, still there is a
Hmm.
the mental health and all those things are to be taken care. It's not that I'm criticizing somebody or I'm saying they shouldn't adopt, nothing of that sort. But the thing is, certain guidelines which are essential in these special cases, they are to be followed, and they haven't been they haven't come. It will come very soon.
Yes, sir. Sure. Any more questions? Yeah, it's from Legal Rootlift for giving your valuable time. They're thanking you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It was a good audience. I tried to cover up many things, but such a wide subject which you cannot cover up in 1 hour or so, because it deals with many sections and very small details which you cannot finish in 1 hour.
But
But in
ma'am,
any case,
whatever, yeah, ma'am, it was a very informative session, and I am pretty sure that the participants got a clear picture of this topic at least today,
I hope I am
because
able to help them out.
yes, ma'am, it was really clear and nice. So if there are no questions, we will wind up the session, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions? So if there are no questions, I would like to thank Legal Rootleaf in association with all the media partners and supporters and collaborators. A special thanks to ALSA President Sadaf Khan, Mr. Sadaf Khan. And last but not the least, I thank you, ma'am, for taking time from your busy schedule and enlightening us. It was indeed an honor. And I hope to see you in our near future webinars also to
Sure,
share
sure.
such more topics we will discuss in our coming webinars.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
you.